So how did you land on digital marketing as your specific area of focus?
When I lost everything, I had to figure out some new skills. And I knew before the way that I was working, I had to be local. Like I had to be local. I had to deal with things. I had to meet people. I had to do that type of thing. So initially, I was like, okay, so what can I do that can allow me to be location independent? And no matter whatever economy we're in, if you can help a business get clients, you can always have a job. Period. If you can, and it doesn't matter what if we're in a recession or not. If you can help a company get some business, you got a job. So I started to study digital marketing to understand, okay, so how can I use this form of technology to get more people business? And so I studied that. And it wasn't like it was immediately lost everything and then jumped into digital marketing. There was years of like depression and not knowing what the next step was. So I don't want anyone who's hearing this to think that, oh, like, yeah, well, I'll just lose everything. You know what I can do? Digital marketing. Like, it didn't come that way. So there were a lot of quiet crying nights where I couldn't figure out how to navigate through this space. And I say that to say that sometimes you may be going through something and you feel like all these answers should be coming to you. And sometimes you just have to be quiet and just sit in that space and it'll come. But it is not immediate as one may believe. I learned that digital marketing was probably the space I needed to go in. And then so there's the education, and then of course there's practice. And so then you have to realize, okay, so let's say you want to make sure that you are working with a client that can actually afford to pay you. So then you may narrow it down like, okay, so what are the industries that could afford to pay me? And maybe you will say, okay, lawyers, dentists, whatever. And then still you got to break down that niche. Okay. So I think initially I was doing dentists and that didn't work out. So I was like, okay, maybe cosmetic dentists. Okay, let's go more specific. Let's do dentists that specifically do veneers. Because when you think about being search engine optimized, you have to go super granular in your keywords. To go general means you need to either be paying for ads, or if you're not paying for ads, you have to get that specific, because your audience has to find you on this global massive thing. And if you don't have the words associated with your name and what you do and how you do it, it's going to be impossible for people to find you. So if you're coming from corporate America, everything is super general. You got to go super specific when you're trying to be an entrepreneur. And I feel like that is what I end up learning in the application of digital marketing when I was trying to get my business off the ground. Entrepreneurs, you got to communicate with your audience. You have to communicate with your audience. You set up your email marketing software so that you can talk to them and find out what their issues are, where they're stuck. And this is if you're talking about B2B or B2C. Communicate with your customers, because a lot of times you can create a product. You think that your customers need this. And if you send them and call them and say, listen, what's got you up at night right now? And they're like, well, this, and that. And if you get very industry specific, which is why I keep talking about that, if it's very industry specific, most of them are going to have the same problems. So then you can learn from that what your product needs to be from what they told you. And they're more likely to buy it because you're fixing the problem they just told you that you had. So what a lot of people would do is say they think they have this product or this book and they feel like everybody wants to read it. No, like no one knows who you are. You didn't build your audience, any of those things. So just because you come up with product doesn't mean people want to buy it. So you need to come up with your audience first, and you need to communicate with your audience first, and then develop product from that. That's the easiest way to do it, because that can ensure that you will make money faster than you out here spending 6 months trying to write a book that didn't nobody buy.
Now that's great advice as far as focusing on the audience for your offering first. So I'm gonna play devil's advocate. I've got somebody that's watching us right now. They're an entrepreneur. They're saying, "But Cinnamon, if I just focus on a niche and I specialize, aren't I missing out on other business opportunities that I could be getting?"
I get it. So you are not a large business yet, and I want you to think about your businesses that are successful. Google did not start off all over the world. It started off on one college campus. They did search for one college campus. Facebook started on one college campus. When you look at Geico was giving insurance to military. They didn't do it to everybody. So as much as you look at these large companies and you see them having this large reach, it didn't start like that. Bill Gates was in garages. Like, come on, y'all. Like, so don't forget that it has to start off small. Everybody started off small. Nobody started off and just gave birth to this large behemoth of a company. That's not how life works. So remember, you can't compare your current state is how you're looking at large companies. That's not a fair comparison by any stretch of the imagination. So understand, everyone started off with a niche. Every company started off with a niche. If you don't, you setting yourself up for failure immediately. So niche it down. Every other company did it. You're not better than them. You ain't better than Facebook, Google, and come on.
Niche it down, Eric. That's tweetable. Niche it down.
I only wish I had met Cinnamon years earlier. It probably would have saved me a lot of pain and frustration, because I just found that whole idea of building your niche and really getting specific to be critical to succeeding in business.
And now you got all these tools, experience, and all of this, and now you're like, okay, I'm over here in Lisbon, in this spot, like by myself, not speaking the language, but I'm gonna be successful. Because I got all these tools, as long as I got a computer and I got some access to the internet, I don't have to.
I didn't see that at the time. I didn't see that at the time, and that's important for people to see. Sometimes the pieces of the puzzle don't come together, and you can't see the picture. But just listen, trust the process, keep riding it out. And because I didn't see that. It wasn't until now that I'm sitting in the life I want. I'm like, dang.
That's great.
All right, Jesus, I'm sorry.
So what other steps can entrepreneurs take to grow their business using digital marketing strategies?
The most important thing is creating content. You have to create content that specifically lets your user know either the service you can provide to them or why it's important. So focus your content on that. I think, everyone just feels like content is king, but it's a certain type of content. Like one, again, you have to identify who your audience is and what are the questions, what keeps your audience up at night? How can you help them? You create content that focuses around that. And the more there's a direct correlation between how much content you have out there and how much money you make, period, particularly online. Complete correlation. So understand that content is going to be your 24-hour, 7 days a week salesperson. It doesn't get sick. It doesn't fall off. You put it out there, it'll still work for you and it'll continue to work for you. If you don't put it out there is the issue. So your content drives people to you. When you are on these various social platforms, your LinkedIn, your YouTubes or whatever, these are just distribution channels. Okay. And they are owned by other people. You have to bring people back to something that you own, which in essence can be your website, but I'm going to go stronger to say your email list, your CRM, your content relationship management software. The reason why that's important is because even if you have sent people to your website, 9 times 10, they ain't coming back. Like how many websites you done been to and you ain't come back to? So unless you aren't, if you are advanced enough to know how to retarget them to come back, that's a different story. But if you're not, your email marketing software is going to be the most important tool that you have in your business, because this puts you directly into their inbox. Every time I create a product, I reach out to my people like, all right, where y'all stuck? And I'm like, well, I'm having a problem understanding where I get to start. All right, bet, got it for you next week. You can't do that on your website. There's no direct communication with people. You can only do that in email. So your email marketing software is going to be one of the most important things. And so I want you to think about content like this. Like back in the day when people used to listen to the radio, artists would come on as many radio stations as they could. Their content was their music. Their content was their album. And they wanted to be on as many distribution channels as possible. Okay. So that is what you're doing. You're putting your content on these various distribution channels. I don't recommend doing all of them at once. It's not necessary. Pick one that is search-based engine optimized. Now, I say that to say YouTube is the largest or second largest search engine. Google is the first. They're rarely when you Google something and people when they have a problem, they Google it. Okay. And when they come up with the search, it does not come up with an Instagram post. It does not come up with a TikTok. It does not come with LinkedIn. It does not come from a podcast. It comes from either a blog in which Google could read the words, or it's coming from YouTube, period. Google owns YouTube. If you had a video and it wasn't on YouTube, they can't read what you said. YouTube will automatically transcribe it. It's search engine based. So if you're going to if you want to grow your market, you need to grow a market on a search engine based type form of marketing. Now, I know people will say, well, a lot of people have Instagram products, a lot of people have TikTok. TikTok is relatively new. When a new digital marketing technology come out, the algorithm is for free for all because they just want to get people to the platform. Every company alters that once they get the people and they decide how they're going to monetize. Companies that make the most money are basically distribution channels. Facebook is nothing but a distribution channel. It doesn't make anything. YouTube is a distribution channel. People come and they put content on it. LinkedIn, people come and put content on it. They're not making the content. They created the tool for people to come and put the content on it because that is how much content is worth. Content allows people, the real worth is them data mining your information. But that comes from content. The more you keep people on a platform, the more they can read a variety of things about you, where you're located, what IP address you're at, all the data mining part that's actually where the real money is. The fish is content. So yeah.
So the best thing they could do is get out there and just create content.
But specific content to their audience. If you just out here creating podcasts or out here creating TikToks and it doesn't relate to your audience, you were just creating fluffy content that's not going to produce money. So if you're trying to close sales, you need to focus on your audience and create content for your audience. Your brilliance doesn't have borders. You know, if you want a location independent life, there are people in Europe that would love your skill set. There are people in, Brazil that would love your skill set. Your brilliance doesn't have to stay, even if you want to stay in America. You can have a global business. And the key is that people have to know you do what you do. So understand, I know if you're with a corporation and you have this title and no one lets, that title is really for that business owns that title, not you. You need to come out and create your own brand and content around what you do so that when people are searching your name or whatever, that you come out as the expert in that. And that is what creates leverage. When you don't create your own personal corporate or personal brand, you have to go out and look for jobs. When you create your own personal corporate brand, jobs come to you. People come to you. They'll say, I saw that person. I want to work with them. How much does it cost? If you don't do that, you're stuck trying to chase the price that people said that they want to pay. But when you are out there, people's like, I want to work with her, how much it costs. And if they can't afford you at the time, they'll save.